This series is called 101, Just You and I. I'll be asking you questions so you can think about it and process at your own pace. Are you ready? But first, let me share you some insights. Hi, it's Manu Coelho, and I'm very happy to find you here. So today I'll be sharing this story with you to build a background knowledge for our conversation and for the questions I'm about to ask you and some insights I got from some readings and classes I've attended. So it all started the year I got here with my family back in 2019, and here I mean in the US, in Utah specifically, where we live today. And we walked into Walmart trying to find some band-aids. And we were wandering around, walking and trying to read the shelves, see the aisles, and we actually could not read anything. It felt like we were blinded. And for some reason, I decided to talk to one of the workers wearing the vest, and she was in a different aisle. We actually were on the opposite side of the supermarket. And when I approached her as a Brazilian, I just said, "Hi, do you know where the Band-Aids are?" And she stares at me and she says, "I don't know. I work in the bread aisle." That, to me, was something unforgettable. So from then on is what I am planning to talk about: the individualism and collectivism in the US and Brazil. So here I have some findings, and the rank goes from 0 to 100, okay, in the individualism and collectivism categories. Comparing both countries right now, I'll say that the US is 91 points in the scale of individualism, while Brazil is on the scale of 38. That's the index for individualism. Knowing that, we can see some different perspectives. First of all, as a Brazilian citizen, I was just trying to find the solution to my problem, and I asked a worker, and all of a sudden the worker, I don't know if it's rejection of information or neglecting information or avoiding communication, but that's the point. I had to find the band-aids for myself, looking and walking around for long minutes, and nobody actually could help me that day. In different circumstances, if it was the opposite, probably Americans would even ask a Brazilian helper at the market for certain information because they're so on their own. Like, I can figure this out. I can do it by myself. You know, I'm sufficient. And all of a sudden, they would just wonder more minutes and longer to find where something they needed was at. On the contrary, Brazilians are more extroverts, and we talk and we try to communicate and resolve. And from then on, we were able to understand some different perspectives also in the classroom, how individuals behave while in a classroom compared when we compare the collectivism and individualism. So my question is, how have you seen, and remember, you are an educator, it doesn't matter which area you're working with, it can be any area in psychology, being a physician or an engineer, or you're just a housewife, or you're an entrepreneur. let's say, or even a teacher, let's say my question is for everyone. How do you see the individualism and collectivism in your area of education? Have you had any struggles with individuals who avoided information contact in order to promote themselves or to just avoid contact? How do you see that? All right, let me share this info I found with you. It's on a website called markandtryusa.com, and there you will be able to visualize other perspectives in the society. But what I'm reading here is the second topic called individualism versus collectivism, and they call it IDV, saying that it describes how cohesively people are integrated into groups. So individualistic societies are place a greater emphasis on the individual and close family, while collectivist societies focus more on extended families and large groups. As like I told you before, the U.S. scored a 91 in and it is considered one of the most individualistic countries in the world. Emerging countries like China and Mexico embody more collectivism, while India, Spain, and Germany are in the middle range. But I talked to you about Brazil, and we're a very collective country. We concern about people. It's like raising a child in the country in Brazil where the whole neighborhood, all families are engaged. They get the child from school, they bring them over to eat at your house, and they stop by without further notice, and that's about it. They share food, and they never return the bowl empty when you have to return the little pot with food or something. And compared to Americans, it's like raising, and by my own experience now, my single child in a different country without any family members around. We do our own stuff. We don't have anyone to count on, and period. So the second question I have for you is, how have you seen yourself in the place where you're at your work, at your house, doing your own business, living your life? How do you see yourself in this culture? Do you see yourself leaning towards individualism or collectivism? And why? Why do you think this is so? Is it being beneficial? Is it being helpful? Has it brought any insights into your academics, into your work, into your social life, into your family? How have you seen yourself into this perspective? I'd say, thinking through all these situations we've experienced, um, I'd say, I can ask, what is it to be culturally respectful? And I believe there's 3 steps to successful conversations and relationships. First, validate others' perspective. We never know the day the person has been through or what kind of life experience this person has ever had, if the person has ever needed to help someone. In fact, if it's the first day at work, if it's everything new to the person as well, like I was mentioning at the supermarket, the help. I don't know if the person had never worked at Walmart before, or and helped anyone in the same way I requested the help. So I'd say when we validate others' perspective, we're trying to build some empathy and be on someone else's shoes. The second one I'd say is explain yourself clearer. It could be that the person did not understand me completely or looked at me in a different way and tried to figure out why my hair was looking weird and missed my question, or the person was uh, lacking attention because she was placing items on the shelves. Just make sure you explain yourself 2, 3 times. And as an educator, I can see that quite often in the classroom when I give an instruction and the moment I'm done, and I know teachers understand what I'm saying right here, right now, kids will sometimes yell or raise their hands and say, "What do we have to do? Where do we start? What?" Because we're all unique. We're all different. We hear things differently. We process things differently. Our timing is different. So no matter what, another step for a successful, you know, discussion and conversation and maybe interaction building towards collectivism would say, I need more details about where I can find the band-aids or the aisle, or that service is specifically, like finding good service and people to help you with services in the US is quite hard as well. So if you just try to make sure the person understands that you need someone else's help, you know, explaining yourself clearer. The third step is listen for details. Make sure you listen to the person. Sometimes the person is actually saying something to you and you are not paying attention or validating what the person is trying to explain you. So maybe it was my bad. I had to listen to her more carefully. Maybe she needed me that day in order to give me what I needed. And in the classroom, I tend to make sure I have that time for the kids. Like when they call me, sometimes I'm off, like I have to type something, or they're still finishing a quiz, or there's something going on with the internet. And am I actually listening for details that the kids expect from me in my classroom? Am I being individualistic or more of a collective type of behavior in order to attend to all the needs around me? Well, we are unique. That's basically what I can sum up from all this conversation here. Can't we all say rice and beans or beans and rice? Huh? Pretty good conversation here, right? Well, my friend educator, I hope you benefited from this quick conversation and questions I raised. Hopefully, you can apply that towards your life going on from today on. Remember, you are an educator, and I believe in you. Oh, one more thing. It's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.